come up and share the family message with all of us.
Thank you. You guys are awesome. You missed your calling. Thank you for joining me and my family here today to honor my grandfather, Cy Kaiser. And you know, it really is great to see all of you, so many family and friends. Thank you all for coming. Our family immigrated to the United States around 1710. They were Quaker pacifists back then, but by the time of the Civil War, we were on the muster rolls, and our family has served during every major conflict ever since. In the mid-1800s, the Kaisers headed west to help settle the Dakota Territory. My grandparents, Frank and Anna Kaiser, encouraged a life of service. They both served as sheriff of Potter County for 10 years. 3 of their sons served in World War II. In addition to Cy, his brothers Richard and Bud also served in the Pacific Theater and fortunately survived. His youngest brother, my Uncle Jim, is a retired Army reservist. My dad, Cy II, he served during the Vietnam conflict, and I was in the Air Force and served during the Gulf War. By all appearances, Cy Kaiser was just an average farm kid. He went to school in Hovind, he liked to fish, roller skate, and in 1942 he married my grandma Ruby here in Aberdeen. But there was nothing average about the greatest generation. As Winston Churchill predicted, to each there comes in their lifetime a special moment when they are figuratively tapped on the shoulder and offered the chance to do a very special thing. And when my grandfather was tapped, he served. Cy was drafted in 1942. He received training at Camp Adair, Oregon, and at Fort Carson in Colorado. Not long after the Allied invasion of Europe and D-Day, he and his unit were deployed to France, where they joined the 104th Infantry Division, the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves' slogan is, "Nothing in hell must stop the Timberwolves." And not much in Germany did. In November 1944, the unit distinguished itself with its swift and effective night operations. It surprised its own leaders with the speed with which it conquered several major industrial cities. On November 21st, 1944, during the battle to take one of those cities, Eschweiler, my grandfather was killed by Nazi artillery fire. He was initially buried in the Henri Chapelle American Cemetery in Belgium, where his grave was tended by a Belgian war widow and her child. This loving woman exchanged many letters with my grandmother. They didn't share a common language. This woman spoke French, Grandma only spoke English, but they still had a lot in common. They both had been widowed by the Nazis, and they both had small children, as my father was born just 1 month after his father was killed. And a point of interest, those letters are over there in a binder if anybody would like to take a look at them. After the war, in 1947, the repatriation program began, and my grandfather's remains were sent to their permanent home at Fort Snelling in Minnesota. Also during this time, he was awarded a posthumous Purple Heart. His widow, my grandma Ruby, was proud of his service and his legacy, and kept his memory alive by talking about their travels to Colorado and Oregon, and by sharing the treasures that she kept in her cedar chest. Letters that Cy had sent home from the front to her and his sisters and other family members. Letters from his unit commander and chaplain informing her of his death and offering them their condolences. Cy's son, my dad, has also inspired in me a great admiration not only for his late father, but for all of the soldiers and civilians that served during World War II. I have done my best to keep the tragedies of that war and my admiration for the greatest generation relevant for my children and grandchildren. And I hope that tributes like this one will help to do the same for future generations. Thank you again for joining us today for this very special event. And thank you to the great state of South Dakota for creating this enduring legacy that will live on long after we are here to tell Cy's story. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl, for sharing that message with us today. Naming the U.S. Highway 12 bridge south of Lake Minot to honor Private First Class Kaiser gives us an opportunity of remembrance, reflection, respect, and gratitude. Dedicating this bridge is a small token to honor Cy, but this will help ensure that Cy will not be forgotten. The South Dakota flag is flying today at the state capitol to honor PFC Kaiser, and it will be sent to the family in the very near future. I now ask the Kaiser family to please come forward and assist with unveiling the sign that will soon become a permanent fixture on US Highway 12 bridge. After we unveil the sign, we will retire the colors. Once the colors are retired, our ceremony will be concluded. So family, if you come in and help, come up and help. This would be a time opportunity for everybody to take pictures. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming. These are great events that we hold all over the state of South Dakota, and just another veteran that gave the ultimate sacrifice that we are honoring today. And so with that, post 24, retire the colors.
All stand. Keep going. Advance the colors. Present